This is Sunny 88.7 FM.
All right, so I have Dr. Emefa with me on the line. She's our Sunny doctor right here. And Dr. Joyce Emefa, good morning.
Hi, JJD. Good morning. I hope you're safe wherever you are.
I am. Yes, Aji baby is not around this morning, but we hope you are safe as well together with your family.
I am JJD. I'm just praying for all the other families.
Yeah. But how do you feel about the whole flooding situation? I'm sure you've seen the videos. I mean, yesterday our socials were flooded with videos of the flooding, people's homes submerged, people's cars being carried away, people stuck on the first floor of a story building. How have you been feeling since yesterday?
It's quite disturbing, Jennifer, because coming from a health perspective, I have just been looking at it from the angle, like the aftermath of everything that's happening. It's quite heartbreaking because apart from the property loss and, people being carried away in the floods, from a health or from a public health perspective, I'm concerned about the aftermath, the surge in foodborne diseases and all that. And it's something we need to brace ourselves for.
So Doc, in these times, you've mentioned a few concerns, and let's get into that, the health aspect of all that is happening now, right, and the aftermath of it.
Right. So, usually when the floodwaters rise, I mean, the rules of the kitchen essentially change. The floodwater isn't just about the rain you see, because once it gets down there and then it's flowing, it carries all manner of waste. And in Ghana, our activities are very detrimental. People, you see it's raining and you see floodwaters and people are dumping refuse in it, and amongst other things, which is quite disturbing. And so the floodwaters we see, it's not just the rainwater. It carries sewage. It carries chemicals, because if it's coming from an area like Tema, it's an industrialized area. You don't know what chemicals the floodwaters are carrying. It's carrying bacteria, and all these things have impacts on our food health. So as now, you may be in your home thinking, oh, you have vegetables and you're going to cook and then all that, and then probably where you even got the vegetables from, the area was probably swept by the floodwaters. And as the floodwaters flow, it carries waste from gutters, it carries waste from sometimes people's latrines. And you have fecal matter in there and all that. And with it comes bacteria. So as this flows, you have bacteria settling on vegetables, particularly the ones that grow on the low-lying beds, like the lettuces and the cabbages and all that. And if you are preparing your meal at home, maybe you may take extra caution to, wash your vegetables well and all that. But how about the food vendor who is by the roadside, whose aim is just to get the food ready and may not probably take precaution like you would? And so, honestly, this is actually not a good time to be buying food from outside. You are better off cooking your food at home and making sure you are taking all the precaution. Cooking your food at home, and then better still, eating cooked meals, because the raw foods are not encouraged at this time. So the raw leafy vegetables and all that are not encouraged, unless you are growing it in your home and in your own garden, where these vegetables and then these foods have not been covered by the floodwaters. If not, you have bacteria settling on it from the waste, from the human excreta and all that. You ingest that in, and with it will come all the diseases we are coming to touch on briefly.
So please, just before you go ahead to touch on, maybe you're going to do then get into prevention, because I was going to ask the extra caution we can take, even with cooking the food in our own homes. Would you want to take that before you get into the diseases, or we can get into that after the diseases?
Okay, so like I said, the diseases we are going to talk about are mainly orophycal. And when I say orophycal, it means foods that are transmitted through food and water. So anything you are going to take into your mouth, right? So the first rule is hand washing. At this time, you cannot let hand washing go. So you always make sure you wash your hands so your hands are not contaminated with what do you call it, with the bacteria that are likely to cause these foodborne illnesses. as well the water we take. Maybe you drink from your tap. You don't know because now with the floods, you don't know where the water coming into your home is coming from. And with it comes all the bacteria and the microorganisms that are likely to contaminate your water. So at this time, if you are the kind who drinks tap water, then the precaution you take is please boil and filter your water before you take it. If not, then you are better off taking water that is like the bottled water or the sachet water with that, because with that is from a factory and they've taken all the precautions that are needed. But at this time, if you are using your tap water, extra caution has to be taken. Boiling and filtering, right?
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Joyce Emefa Addo. She's joined us on the I'm Drive today to help us take some necessary precautions when it comes to the area of health. And Dr. Emefa, you can go ahead to touch on some of the diseases that are likely to show up because of the floods at this time. And yeah, please take it from there.
Okay, so like I said, the flood water mixes with raw sewage. And when I say sewage, is the waste. So contaminations from the gutters, from people's latrines, and then all that. So when this happens, what happens is that because the flood waters are swept over beds and farmlands and all that, you have bacteria settling on these foods. And these are not your typical bacteria. They are very aggressive. When it comes to the diarrheal diseases like cholera, these bacteria are very, very, very aggressive. So at this time, you are going to notice that cholera there's going to be a surge in cholera.
It's waiting at the door.
Yes.
Oh no.
So there's going to be a surge in cases of cholera, which is caused by the Vibrio cholerae bacteria, and obviously, if you are eating contaminated food and drinking contaminated water, you are going to be having diarrhea, which is not just any diarrhea, but aggressive diarrhea. We usually call it having rice water stew. And there are going to be increasing numbers of cases in typhoid, because typhoid is also a foodborne illness, caused by the Salmonella typhi bacteria. And because we have the rains and the floodwaters, like I said, you are getting food from a vendor who probably is using contaminated water to cook and is not taking extra caution. That sorry to burst anyone's bubble, that wache seller who's probably giving you vegetables and is not taking extra caution to wash the vegetables well, is going to get contaminated with bacteria from the floodwaters, and you end up purchasing the food and eating. I don't know if you recollect a case in Dodo, I think a couple of years ago, where a group of people were all ending up at the government hospital in Dodo, and when the contact tracing was done, they are all eating from a particular wachi source.
Yeah,
we are going to be seeing a lot of such cases if we don't take precautions. So typhoid, the diarrheal diseases, and particularly cholera, these are cases you are going to be seeing an increased number, and because of the contamination of our foods, and because it's most likely most vendors or people who sell food by the roadside may not take the extra precaution. So I advise people to be very mindful of where you get your food. If the food is not hot, please don't buy it, or please don't take it in. But preferably, please make your own meals at home if you have to, preferably. But if you don't have a choice and you have to get food from outside, you need to be very mindful. If the food is not hot, don't take it in. And you have to be very careful of your salads, in particularly the raw leafy vegetables, because like I explained, because most of them are grown on beds that are low-lying, you have floodwaters carrying sewage and waste from gutters, and they cover these beds. And so when these vegetables are not well washed and you just eat, you are going to get into trouble, right? So the diarrheal diseases are what I want to touch on. And then beyond that, when the floods recede, you realize that you have a lot of puddles all over. So stagnant water or puddles, water that is not flowing, once it's stagnant or it forms small puddles, it becomes breeding ground for mosquitoes. So we are going to have an increased number in malaria cases. So we need to be very mindful, staying out late, you need to, particularly the children, because malaria is a big issue in children under 5.
Okay.
So please protect your kids. Dress them in the appropriate attire when they are going to bed. The kids should not stay out late. When they are going to bed, you dress them appropriately. And most importantly, children under 5 and pregnant women, mosquito nets. Mosquito nets during this season. Let them sleep under insecticide-treated mosquito nets.
Dr. Emefa Addo, we want to say a big thank you for this great help you've given us today, the information you've given us, the preventive tips you've given us this morning. If there's finally something you'd like to share before we wrap up with you, would like to hear it. Or would that be all from you?
Right. So I would like to tell our listeners that in this season, please don't ignore any sign or symptom that is associated with diarrhea. You may be home and probably you think, oh, you've had a tummy upset, you've gone a number of times. Please, diarrhea kills easily because you easily get dehydrated. So in this season, if you start having tummy upset, don't take it lightly. Kindly report to the nearest health facility, particularly in the kids too, because kids easily get dehydrated because they are much younger and smaller. So if you see diarrhea or running stomach in your kids, vomiting in kids and in adults alike, please do not stay home. Report to the nearest hospital. It's likely you may have eaten something that is contaminated and is causing that. And I also want to touch briefly on people who know their genotypes and are sickle cell. This season, because it's raining, it's cold and all that, so there's also going to be a surge in sickle cell crisis. So kindly protect yourself, wear the appropriate clothing to keep you warm, try and avoid cold places, and then hydrate well. I know because it's cold, it's very difficult for people to drink water.
A few days, I realized I've gone the whole day and I didn't drink water.
You can't go the whole day without drinking water. It's happening to all of us. So you have to make a conscious effort to take in lots of water. So for the sickle cell patients at this time, you keep yourself warm, you drink lots of water so you don't become dehydrated, just to prevent crisis. Right.
Dr. Joyce Emefa Addo, thank you so much for catching up with us this morning, for the great tips that you've shared with us. We pray that the Lord keeps you and your family safe as well during these times. And we'll catch up with you again.
Thank you, JJD, for having me.